Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Gonzalez and I'm going to be doing a speech of persuasion. The purpose of this speech is to persuade you of a certain topic. So I'd like to start off by talking to you about the issues of people possessed with drugs, convicted of drug possession. Believe it or not, Texas is one of the biggest, one of the states with a large amount of people convicted of drug possession. So I'm going to go through the issues, what we could do about it. You know, a lot of people perceive people who are convicted of drugs as bad people, and that may be true, but a lot of them are non-violent convictions. So in order to talk about this, I'm going to present to you the problems, the causes, and the solutions we can do to fix this as a society, and offer some tangible solutions, you know, federal-wise, you know, federal as in the national level, maybe a state level, community, you know, things you can change within our environment to better serve. So the problem was around the 1980s and 1990s, they imposed the war on drugs. So a lot of people were coming into the United States, selling drugs, all that stuff, and people were being more and more convicted of drug possessions. And that can range anywhere from marijuana to cocaine to like really hard drugs like narcotics. But I would like to focus more on like the softer drugs, I guess, you know, like marijuana, cocaine, stuff like that, that are not very, you wouldn't pose them as violent drugs, I guess, okay? So we'll do that. And I would like to really focus on the causes of what gets people addicted or convicted of drug possession, okay? Because everybody's excuse for using drugs is different. But the main three problems that I have come across when I did my research on this was, number one was prostitution, number two was mental illness, and number three was the jail sentence itself. So I want to be able to break down those norms, be able to break it down and say that they are not what they seem, right? You think of prostitution and you think of a woman and she's desperate. So I actually read from online, from an internet source, I think it was Box.com, a lady named Marianne Hatcher. She actually got addicted to drugs through prostitution. Her husband used to physically abuse her, and she lived a really nice lifestyle. She made great money, but when she left him because of that, she found herself turning to prostitution for money, and then in order to keep making money that way, she turned on to drugs. And there's bad people out there that they call pimps and johns, and they make the women do drugs so that they're able to depend on them. So there are people out there that take advantage of women, and so when a woman, she found that going to jail was the best thing for her because she was able to break free from drugs. And if you ever met her in person, you would probably think that she didn't do drugs at all, because now she works for the State Department that actually convicted her of drugs and sent her to jail. But she found it to be one of the best things of her life because it changed her. She got clean, you know, things like that, and she turned her whole life around because for a while it was in the pit. So it is life-changing for some people, and I want other people to see it that way. You know, they're not criminals. Another thing is mental illness. A lot of people suffer from anxiety and depression and stuff like that. I think the Recovery Village said the Anxiety and Depression Association of America reports about 20% of substance abusers have anxiety disorder or a mood disorder. So in order to help heal them or help have them at ease, they turn on to drugs, which is, you know, not healthy at all. But that's where it comes in, where these programs and stuff like that, rather than just put you in a jail cell, they help you through that stuff, you know, help you recover. And the jail sentence, another big cause why people sometimes return to jail after they're convicted is, think about a normal guy and he got arrested on drug charges for marijuana, which if I'm being completely honest. It's not a super violent drug, you know? But someone like that gets put in jail for a sentence of 5 years, let's say. They are surrounded with people who've done much worse things, I'm pretty sure. So they have these tendencies to do worse things when they get out. You know, they lived among these people for those 5 years. So when they get out, you know, they have a more tendency to go out and do these things and explore what those people have done, you know? And so that's why they keep coming back. And it's not helping them. So I'd like to point out what we can do to help these people. And my 3 main points are education, interventional programs, and healthcare. So I think the big solution would be healthcare. A lot of times healthcare does not cover mental illnesses like depression, anxiety, things like that. I think doctors see it and a lot of people don't see it as a real issue, and it is, especially in today. So some people do need help, and sometimes people think of therapy as like, oh, you don't need therapy, you know, that's for, you don't need that, that's fake, right? But some people do, and if they think that you don't need therapy, people don't take it seriously, they turn to drugs. Or even like substance abuse, like alcohol, things like that, and that gives them in more trouble, DUIs, stuff like that, and people view them as criminals, you know? And they're not, they're just people going through regular things like we do, you know, but other people turn to different things, and some people turn to drugs. I think a local solution would be intervention programs. So I think here I have that same woman, instead of being spent 3 to 7 years in prison, she was sentenced to 120 days in a women's justice service, which is a jail-based treatment. So instead of spending time in a jail cell with other criminals who've probably done worse things, she was being put on a service for treatment and things like that. I think those would really help. You know, be able to talk to someone about your issues. Why do you use drugs? What kind of drugs do you use? You know what those drugs do to your body? Things like that to help that person and help them understand that what they're doing is wrong as well, because not only hurting the people around you, but you're hurting yourself and your body physically. And then I think the last solution would be education. I know when I was little and I went to school, they had that DARE program, I believe, and you know, don't do drugs and stuff like that. But why? Why can't I do drugs? Like, tell me the reason. Show me the reason. I feel like tell them the truth. That way they can better understand, so that they know, okay, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like something I want to do, you know? Because kids are kids, and kids are going to try things, but if we make sure we educate them well, then they will really know the things that will happen if they do them, you know? The consequences. But just to give you all a few statistics, 57% of people who received drug rehab were rearrested within a 12-month period, opposed to people who didn't receive drug rehab. They were at 75% for going back to jail. And 42% of people that were convicted of a crime got drug rehab, versus to 65% of those that didn't receive drug rehab got convicted again. And then I think 30% of people got a new sentence, a jail sentence, compared to 51% who didn't do drug rehab got another sentence. So I believe these numbers are shocking. You know, they're not criminals, they're just, and this is for drugs that are non-violent crimes, you know, obviously with intent to not distribute, things like that. You know, when you get into more of those issues, then it becomes, you know, a whole bigger issue, and okay, maybe they are doing bad things, but actually 20,313 Texans in prison, and the 3,893 people in the state jail is for a drug offense, and 51% and 87% respectively were incarcerated for simple drug possession, meaning they just had drugs on them. That's it. So, yeah, that's my my issue, my topic that I discussed. And if you have any questions, let me know. No questions? Okay. Thank you.